Hear my voice, O God, in my prayers. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. The righteous shall be glad in the Lord and shall trust in him, and all the upright in heart shall glory.
Amen. Amen. Justice! No justice! No peace! 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 No justice! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
Come here in support of Brian Douglas and the Brian Douglas family in the event of their son being murdered on Monday, I believe, by police officers using the American police baton, which, as we always knew, the black person would be the first victim of this baton.
Metropolitan Police! Murderers! Metropolitan Police! Murderers! 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 Murderers!
Black people have a right to be here. We don't have no right to be beaten.
And black men's lives are too expendable nowadays.
A black man's life is worth shit in this country, and it always has been and it always will be. And we have to stop it.
Now, if we don't stop it now,
it will continue.
My child is growing up, and I do not want her growing up like that.
We want Tuffy to experience the pain that Brian would have experienced, because Brian is not a dog. You understand? And you can't beat us like dogs. One day we're going to bite. And when we bite, you're not going to fucking feel it to us.
Hold on a minute. They'll kill my child. None of you have mother. You don't have mother and children and wife and family. You don't have any, you wicked murderer. You kill him like a dog. You dogs. Oh, God Almighty. All right. Mommy,
What do you want? Justice! What do you want it? Now! What do you want? Justice! What do you want it? Now! What do you want? Justice! What do you want it? Now!
We who believe in freedom cannot rest until the killing of black men, black mother's son, is as important as the killing of white men, white mother. We believe in freedom, believe in freedom cannot rest.
So we'll do things at their headquarters, we'll do actions at their the sites where they have the factories, and the AGM is another site where we can actually put pressure on the company. But the advantage of the AGM, of course, is that you're putting pressure directly to the top, to the board, so you're not dealing with the employees who don't really have much say in what the company does. You're actually dealing with the decision makers.
And do something about it. We are very pleased that after today,
Shell off murderers! Shell off murderers!
They're mostly male, middle-aged, middle class, went to the same schools, the same colleges, and they get to this company and then they sit in an office having board meetings, and you know, it's all really nice, and they don't, you know, it doesn't connect to what they're actually doing, so it's quite good to be able to go in there and force them out of that sort of coziness.
no more arms to Indonesia.
Once you find out how to buy a share, which is very straightforward, simply some paperwork, and then you simply turn up with your share at the AGM and gain access.
I believe that we all have responsibility for our brothers everywhere.
So in that case, if we've got responsibility for the people of East Timor, why don't you campaign to stop the Lloyds financing the arms deals that's arming Indonesia, that's carrying out a genocide in East Timor?
It's not only Lloyds, and I don't know why you're just sort of... do you do the same sort of thing to all of the banks?
Yeah. All those that are involved in the arms trade.
When you've done all the writing and the telephoning and you've tried to get people to confront an issue and they're not talking to you, and their actions are having really quite awful repercussions somewhere, then I think it's justifiable to go into their offices and say, look, this is what's happening. Look me in the eye and try and understand what you're doing to somebody.
What I'm not having is people trying to break
people in.
Okay?
These people have a perfect right to ask their questions.
No, they don't. They're not in this. This is a private office.
Well, this is a private office that is destroying our planet.
Let go of her now! Ow! For fuck's sake, that was assault, you bastard! Grow up! Grow up!
The law seems to be now so divorced from ethics and from the value system that I hold dear that I can't afford to think about whether something is legal or illegal. You know, it's got too confused. Maybe there was a time when the law mirrored the values of the society, but it doesn't seem to do that in our society anymore.
Sorry? We're going to disrupt you then. Good. What's your job? Sorry? Well, I just mind. Is somebody high up? Sorry? No, there isn't. Who is high up? Who can we go? Mr. Costain.
Well, if you go downstairs, I'm sure there'll be somebody there you can speak to.
Downstairs?
Yes.
Well, that sounds like the way out to me.
Does it? Oh. Well, there's also the way out there.
Well, we don't want that.
Right. Bye-bye. You're on private property, isn't it?
I don't think you should do that.
Is there any chance we can talk to someone about it?
I'm sure you will be able to. Somebody will be.
Okay.
Inquiries is closed. How can you talk to anyone?
Mr. Costain? Yeah. I've got a lot of people in my building, my office, regarding the Newbury contract. They've got cameras and all sorts of things. I don't really know how they've got in here, but there's a load of them in the corridor. Okay, thanks.
What did Mrs. Costain say?
I don't really think I should pass that on to you just yet.
As far as I'm aware, it's not illegal to just go into a place and confront somebody with something that they're doing wrong. I think it's civil trespass if they tell you to go and you don't go. But if your behaviour is courteous at all times, then there's not really very much that they could say was illegal.
Must be like lighter than your day so much.
Who's this guy on the desk? Is that Mr. Hayes?
No, it's not. This is spending a bit dodgy, or I might give it all that. But actually, lighter this light. You'll go and think about this now and think maybe they're right, all skippy.
Will you talk to us? Will you talk to us? Are you willing to talk to us? Have you got anything to say at all?
So, what made you get this job? How long have you been working here? And what do you think about, for example, the M11 Link Road, the M3 through Twyford Down, the M77 through Pollock Estate, the M65 between Preston and Blackburn, the A35 Honiton to Exeter? I could go on, but it would take a lot of time. Do you think much about the ethical implications of these roads? Or do you think about the money you'd be making out of them?
You have to look at what he is actually doing. He's running the Highways Agency, which is causing X amount of destruction and displacement of people and, you know, all the problems associated with road building. And he's forwarding the cause of roads. He's not just doing a job. You know, his job is to promote road building.
Could I explain to you that what's happening in Brazil is that their land is being trespassed and nobody's got time to listen to them?
Well, they said they've just come into the office. They'd like to inform us and our staff about what's going on in the Brazilian jungle. And I've told them that we're very busy.
He has told me that he wants to get on with his business, and all I can do is to ask you, if you want to protest, by all means we'll allow you to protest.
No, I mean, his business is actually so seriously out of line, and I consider it to be so illegal that we can't allow him to get on with it. I mean, you should be arresting him. Our job today is to try and look people in the eye and say, this is what's happening, please do something about it. And we're trying to do it as peacefully as we can. And if there was any other way, I mean, we've been working on this issue for 5 years, writing letters, we've had talks with the Timber Trade Federation, and the agents and companies are still dealing with it. So what do you expect us to do? Just say, sorry, another tribe goes, you know, never mind, you know. I'm
and I know that there's just nothing I can say about it.
And all I want to say on a personal level is I don't need to be upset about it, and we're being as peaceful as we can about it, but we have to do what we can to just put the point across.
We want you to follow up on it. Say, hey, maybe these guys have got something there. Let's read up on it. Or maybe you are fully aware of all these facts, and you are prepared. You are prepared to just brush it all under the carpet, which is totally unscrupulous.
I don't know. My advice is if you're going to put it in.
And that is my complicated. No, it's not. It's one of our leaflets, actually.
Oh, please, you can.
Thank you. That's so kind of you. Thank you.
There were no arrests. It was reasonably peaceful, and in the end, we've got a dialogue going. And as well as that, we got quite a lot of information just through doing the office occupation about which companies they deal with and basic information like that, which should be public knowledge. I mean, I don't believe in business secrecy. I look forward to a society when people don't have to keep secrets about who they're dealing with and the deals that they do, because they're so just and ethical and fair that no one would mind sharing that information.
Go on, ask me a question then.
Right. Why is your face green this morning?
My face is green this morning because I lived in the forest so long it's been green for the past 8,000 years.
Did you by any chance consume any alcohol last night or any other substance?
No, none whatsoever. Your Honour, none whatsoever. Absolutely not. Never touched the stuff. Don't need to.
What exactly is wassailing?
Wassailing. The term comes from Anglo-Saxon. It means to wish well or to wish whole, and it is a blessing. A blessing upon the place, a blessing upon the crop which is grown in the place, and a blessing upon all those who participate.
Great stuff. Can we do it as well?
Yeah, everyone can do it. We've even got a little piece of paper with the words on for you.
What time are you starting?
Dunno. When more people arrive.
No pictures, no pictures. Press, don't shoot. Press. Is this alcoholic toast?
Yes, that's right. Alcoholic toast is what you give the tree spirits. So you soak the toast in the mulled cider, and then you put the toast in the branches of the tree, and then the tree spirits come and suck the cider out of the toast when they want to drink the cider, and then when they feel a bit hungry later on, they eat the toast.
Sounds sensible to me. What's your word on wassailing?
I think it's about time we got into some of these old ancient British traditions and carried it on, particularly if they've got anything to do with drinking.
Yeah, it's coming along, Oops! Are you ready for the song? Hip,
Wicked. George, what a way to start the day.
Land rights is one of the worldwide environmental and social justice issues of the next century, and it's important to have that fight here as well as other places. Just because the land got stolen a long time ago doesn't make the issue any less relevant here, and it's still being stolen, and we're going to take some back.
1649 to St. George's Hill, a ragged band they call the Diggers came to show the people's will. They defied the landlords, they defied the laws. They were the dispossessed, reclaiming what was theirs. We come in peace, they said, to dig and sow. We come to work the land in common, and to make the wasteland grow. This earth divided we will make whole, so it can be a common treasury for all.
Well, most of the actions have been reacting to decisions that, say, the government have made, like building a road or a golf course being built, or then people actually say, well, no, you're not going to do this, but people aren't actually saying no, they're going to go down to the land and say yes.
So disused airfield, part of it is farmed and part of it is set aside, and we're going to be part of the set aside to make the wasteland grow.
Sarah.
They're for building the benders, which are the temporary structures that we're going to live in. You dig the poles into the ground and bend them over and tie them together and then throw a tarp over the top. And you've got a semi-permanent, waterproof dwelling that you can live in. So this is the basic structure for that.
This is land that used to be common lands. In the Second World War, there was a need for airfields to go and attack the Germans in Europe, so they built an airfield here. They requisitioned the land. Since then, it has been parcelled out to farmers, rented out to them, and most of the farmers just turn around and use it for set-aside land, which is land farmers are paid by the European community not to grow food on, which is a ridiculous thing to happen in this world of mass starvation.
Already bits of organic gardening being done, there's beds being cut, basically terrace beds being cut into this whole waste bit, which is perfect. That's just a little bit of a slope of nettles between the ploughed field and this sort of bit of marshland, and we're growing things on it already. We've got a oven and kiln and bread oven being made and beautifully decorated, and when that's ready, that's my next mission. I'm hoping to bake some bread.
Been down here and we had a look at the stuff that they made, and these two came down this morning, got their face painted and went on the pony trek, and we just really liked it, so then we had to go on a didgeridoo. But it would be better if it was like nobody owned this, because then you could just rough camp out here like they're doing. It'd be a lot better.
And our property we do disdain. No one has any right to buy and sell the earth for private gain. By theft and murder they took the land. Now everywhere the walls rise up at their command. We work, we together, we need no swords. We will not bow to masters or pay rent to the lords. We are free men, though we are poor. You diggers all stand up for glory, stand up now.
The diggers stayed here from April the 1st, 1649 until August, and they cultivated as much of the land as they could. They put up their huts, they kept their animals here. The mob soldiers from the New Model Army were hired to sort them out, and their huts were trashed, they were burnt down, people were beaten up, their animals were mutilated. For the first time since 1649 and the Diggers' Revolt, we're coming back to reclaim our natural inheritance. I tell you what we do.
I think a lot of people don't realise that most of the common land that we've got left in this country now is there because people fought for it by direct action. People went out trespassed on those bits of land, occupied those bits of land, tore down buildings that were being built on those bits of land and said, you can't have this is ours.
Politiet har nu givet ordre om, at alle skal anholdes i demonstrationen. Heroppe bagved, der står der en delegation af politibetjente, som har afspærret hele ruten.
Vi giver ikke op, så pas det dog! Pas dog, vi aldrig giver op! Aldrig giver vi op!
Playing a tape. All right, a tape of trees falling down, of chainsaws.
So we're going to reach all the New Yorkers all the way across Times Square, all the way over to the east side, down here and cancel, and put some pressure on the New York Times to cancel the contract with Bill Blowdown.
We're trying to stop an illegal logging operation. We're violating the Endangered Species Act, the Clean Water Act. We're destroying the best wildlife habitat in the state of Idaho. For 20 years, we've been able to keep them out in the courts, and they've taken advantage of a legal technicality that's created a little window of opportunity where they can come in and log these trees, and we just can't stand by and let that happen.
Narodowy! Puszcza parkiet! Narodowy!
That's 2-0 That's what we want, that they do something more, that they recognize the problem is about traffic, about CO2, and they do not know.
The global climate coalition
Yeah, we're very excited by what's been going on over in Britain, just enormously inspired and charged up by the stills photos and the videos that we've had from things like, or from the whole M11 campaign and wiping down everything.
The only way when all the submissions are over and all the letters to the editor are put out with the garbage is to stand there in front of the bulldozers and say, stop.
We object to the fact that animals are being tortured and abused. While a few people are getting rich from the export industry, thousands of innocent animals are suffering needlessly. We tried marching and carrying banners, but it achieved absolutely nothing.
Get off the pavement, please.
That is why so many of us have opted for peaceful direct action, to physically stop the lorries by putting ourselves directly in their car. But the police took this as too much of a threat.
The only thing you can do, and I hope you're recording this, is spy on us and take photographs of us and put us in government intelligence files, because you don't understand our ideas and you're frightened of us. You're part of a police state. I remember a time when the police in this country were decent people. They didn't go around spying on people with cameras. I hope you're ashamed.
Meanwhile, the media accused us of being the troublemakers.
Good evening. The police are increasingly worried about a thuggish element among the peaceful protesters.
Terrorists, bombers, violence.
No rogue element.
Confrontation.
External
element. A mob of activists storm. After more violence.
Elderly ladies, people carrying children, they are as much party to the brick throwing and bottle throwing as anybody else.
In fact, it was the police who were overreacting.
Out the way. Thank you. Come on, get up. Get up, then. What do you think now, Kitty? He's injured, we get the ambulance to him. Get him out of the way. What do you want? Go on, ambulance. That's all right.
Has he been arrested?
I haven't arrested him.
They actually picked up a lady and threw her at me, and she was older than me. She was over 60, and I was sent flying, and I was on the pavement. And that was by the police. I used to stick up for the police, and this is why I'm more annoyed than most people. I used to say they were doing a good job. Never again. I don't want to see another policeman after today.
Nice veggie dinner, okay?
Exporters have been forced to reduce their trade because the cost of policing has been too high.
He goes, a village bobby has resigned from the police, Shoreham Harbour, and said, I'm glad to get away! Yeah!
Well, as I say, I feel like Piggy in the middle.
Being vegan is our most effective way of protesting against animal abuse. By using our immense power as consumers, we can put an end to these cruel trades.
We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills, we shall never surrender.
A minha luta de Yanomami não vai parar, não. Os caribenhos já mataram meus parentes. A luta vai até no fim. O Yanomami não tem medo de morrer.
And now, my friend, let me be, set me free. Another desperate plea of the Yanomami Brazilian Indians to control their own opinions on the subject of life and the freedom they fight for and more. Cause it's been 500 years, 500 years of tears and fears. The Yanomami in the struggle for liberty to get it back out of the hands of the enemies. The Portuguese and the Spain, cause since they came to the forest of rain, there've been millions of blood stains and pain. Over 50 million souls of the Indian tribes for the sake of gold. And hey yo, it got out of control real bad. Cause these people brought diseases which the Indians never had. And it's a trick of the culture. Check them out, yo. Mental torture. Still most among us don't know the real truth and think highly of Columbus like the man had the right to take all the land of the original inhabitants and change their own ways like it wasn't no difference at all.
So yo, check this out. The story is about everybody being somebody. It doesn't matter whether you're different than the next man, you still is somebody. And if you realize this and show some respect to one another, most of the sad things in life will turn into a brighter day. And in the case of the Yanomami, let them have it their own way, okay? You know why? Because they're also somebody. Somebody! Because they're also somebody! Because they're also somebody!
My whole life has been a love affair. My whole life has been a love affair with the car. Toys to my first real wheels. My first real wheels. Freedom. In the form of the 61 Beetle. Until driving enslaved me. Gradually driving enslaved me. I resolved on a last symbolic road trip to Scotland. Free State. Pollock Free State. To mark the end of an era. I called a few friends and the idea snowballed. One car became two, a mobile petition to Glasgow, a pilgrimage to Carhenge.
Okay, roll up, express yourself on the Pollock Express. Register your indignation.
The car that we're taking up to Pollock is being signed at the moment by people that are against roads generally, I think, against the car culture. We're now at the civic offices in Newcastle under Lyme to give in a load of letters that people have signed explaining that they don't want the M6 to be widened anymore.
People like yourselves have got to push us harder, well, not me particularly, but you've got to push people harder to make your goals.
It is very difficult not to use a car when there are no alternatives.
And there aren't going to be alternatives if you're spending £500 million on widening the M6, which isn't going to do any good. How many cycle lanes and bus lanes and all the rest of it could you get for £500 million? And that's only going to do 35 miles of the motorway.
It's not just a matter of putting cycle lanes in. It could be a matter of knocking buildings down. What you're trying to do. Not on the M6 as an issue, but in general through the Friends of the Earth, as Ian keeps pointing out to us from time to time.
If you use that money to make more public transport, then you wouldn't have to widen the motorway because nobody would use it.
People, our need grows greater. Today we touch the power of the instigator. We find that this crass consumption, the car consumption society we live in, can be a great sedator. You are now not allowed to be a spectator. The need to change your fate is greater. Here in Newcastle on Lyme, we had a bit of a media blitz today. We had 2 local press photographers come in, virtually prostituting little kiddies, getting them to splay themselves just like the bikini-clad girls of the 70s posters that my friends used to have in their rooms. This is how they're presenting our message. Is this our message? We'll see. I don't think so.
Your planet while stocks last.
We're bored of Ford and fuel-injected beasts of burden misdirected, delivering high-speed, low-mileage, middle-of-the-road platitudes. 500 million metallic parasites crisscross the Earth's skin, now bound in bandages of black tar, to suck it dry and spray decay. With one last pause, we make our way to Pollock.
For 20 years, the local communities have objected to this motorway, you know, and they've done everything possible legally to air their views and concerns, but they've just been ignored. We thought, do a bit of direct action, involve a bit of Earth First tactics, just to do some stunts, just to get the media coverage, to let people know what was happening, let people know that it's just, you know, I mean, too much to let go, you know what I'm saying?
People stop it. It's hundreds here a day. There'll be thousands next weekend in Glasgow. We won't stop this motorway. Victory is ours.
Well, at the moment we're heading towards the local school in Pollock, where at the present moment the kids are doing a protest and a strike against the M77, which obviously passes through their school.
We're not going to school until we know that this M77 is not getting built, because it's our future health that's at stake here.
They're taking away our park, our environment, and it's just no right.
We're taking the cars straight into Carhenge.
Everybody's ready to go. People can hardly keep their hands off the cars. This car is terminally ill. No pulse, no sign of life. We better retire it.
Shovel! Right, take a handbrake off then.
That car's not going anywhere no more.
It doesn't want to go in. The car does not want to go in the hole.
It's resisting death.
It's its last protest.
No, look.
This side. It was a very strange feeling to have my car sort of mobbed by a horde of people and stuck in the ground. But this was its fate. There's more value where it is than it would be in a scrap heap.
Anyone seen
This could well be the beginning of the end of the car culture. We are telling people out there, kill your car before it kills the planet. Before it kills you or somebody else. Before it messes up the lungs of all the children that live in this landscape of tarmac and concrete. They don't need any more. What we need is Greenland. We need Pollock Park to stay as it was. We want this very embankment returned to its original state.
Yeah!
We sacrifice these machines of rusting dreams as a sign of hope that we can end the trend of road-building madness. This is a sign of solidarity from the people of Brighton and Oxford to the people of Pollock, whose land has been taken away from them and who want to have it back, and we think that they should have it back. May these cars rust in peace.
You're halfway through Undercurrents and there's a lot more to go. The problem with alternative media is getting the word out. So pass the video around, set up communal screenings, and get active.
Pause and ask yourself one question. Who would best defend our freedom, our way of life, and the much-loved land in which we live?
Get up! Right.
Boy, watch it!
You lay a finger on me, you'll be arrested for obstruction. Do you understand? No, I don't.
Stay out! Just stay out!
Get back!
Have a look, please.
Look at what? At what? The lighter, the chewing gum, or the sweets?
All of it. Have a look.
One at a time, you can, yes.
Right, I've had enough of this. I'm arresting you to prevent a breach of the peace. You don't have to say anything.
Just a minute.
Unless you wish to do so, but what you say, maybe give me an
Right.
evidence.
Okay. Can you please...
This may mean that more people will go to prison. I don't flinch from that.
I mean, I was dragged about 10 metres or so by my arm. I was pulled behind my back and I was screaming. And the next thing I knew, I could see this arm with a riot shield, and it just hit me in the face. When I was taken to hospital, I was still covered in blood, everything. I had a neck brace on, and I was told I couldn't eat. I was lying on this bed, and a man in a suit came in. He was wearing a tie, and everything looked very official. He started talking to me. I didn't know who he was. I asked him who he was. He said he was from the Police Complaints Authority. He said he wasn't a policeman. He kept asking me questions about what had happened. He pretty much talked me into signing a form which signed over all medical records to him, and the whole time he kept saying, "I'm not a policeman." And I think if I'd had a couple of hours to wait, I would have done it differently. I would have talked to my solicitor first, which was something that my solicitor told me afterwards I should have done. Just not gone through them at all, and I should have pushed it more. At the time, I just wanted to forget about it, get that out of the way. But I realise now I should have gone ahead with it, made sure that they did something about it, because just leaving it in the hands of the Police Complaints Authority was useless. My case it's going to be forgotten. It's going to be a file now.
Video evidence is always a lot better because you tend to see the full picture. Stills photographers and written statements, people can only say what happened at the point their attention or their photograph was taken. A video generally shows before, during and after, so you do get the full picture.
Okay, we'll have him. Get his stick. Yeah. Illegal use of a weapon.
We had some of our own video evidence which showed, in particular, Jim Chambers. When he was removed from the wooden tower, there was someone on the other wooden tower with a video camera, and he was in the cherry picker. And then you could see the sheriff's officers and security push Jim's head in the door of the cherry picker. And then the video camera went into close, zoomed in, and you could see them squeezing his head, and they thought no one was watching, but they were pushing his head right in the gate of the cherry picker, slamming it on his head, and then you saw a policeman's glove and saw his helmet, and he joined in as well. And when we played our video in court, the magistrate basically, well, it was like a bomb going off in court, if you know what I mean. The magistrate can't argue with that, if you know what I mean. So
I know that despite all the changes in our society, there are some who still feel a little bit uncertain about it. I also know there are others who would welcome it.
Justice Act, under attack! We fight back! Smash the Criminal Justice Act, under attack! We fight back! Smash the Criminal Justice Act, under attack! We fight back! Smash the Criminal Justice Act, under attack! We fight
I was photographing an arrest on the bridge, and a policeman ran up to me, and I'd been standing with the camera held just below eye level, and he just shoved the camera straight-armed into my face, cutting my head, stunning me a bit. So I tapped him on the shoulder, he turned round, I took his picture, he grabbed me, and he said, "You're nicked," and that was the only truthful thing he said. So he said that I'd been in a group of Muslim youth attacking this police bus, that I'd shoved a policeman out the way in order to get better pictures of the demonstration, that he'd warned me about this behaviour and that I'd continued, that he'd pushed me back and I'd shouted it was a free country and pushed to another policeman, and he then arrested me. Great story. The only difficulty is that the attack on the police bus happened at 5:25, and I actually had a picture showing this policeman and his wristwatch. It's at 5:40, 15 minutes later, a picture taken when I'm at liberty, when he claims I was in a police van. But the police video itself had the time. Other photographers had pictures of me in the wrong place for his story. If the police officers are shown to be lying in that case, how can you believe them in any other case?
Once we started getting people acquitted on horn-blowing charges and walking towards a hunt and stuff, when we continued to get arrested for it, we started to seek legal advice, and that's when we started to sue the police for unlawful arrest, unlawful imprisonment, trespass against a person.
Now, an officer with 10 years training is an expensive item. He's probably worth £500,000 to the police force. They'll possibly have to open up other cases that officer's been involved in. That'll cost a fortune too. That's why they settle out of court. And that's why it's important that we should always, when we can, take action against the police.
Section 69, the Criminal Justice and Public Order Act, 1994. This is land. You are hunt saboteurs. This is an aggravated trespass. If you step over that line there, that is an aggravated trespass. Speak to a lawyer. I'm not an expert on the law. I'm just telling you, if you go on the land, you'll be arrested.
Leadership from the top can only succeed if harnessed to enthusiasm, commitment, and new thinking from the grassroots.
I'm a bit embarrassed by this, so I'm not going to say very much more. I'm just an environmental protester who cares about the planet, and I'm going to carry on doing what I'm doing because I believe in it. And I'm not going to get the legal system, not going to let the legal system stop me because I believe that what I'm doing is right. And no matter what this law, this court does to me, I'm going to carry on, and I hope everyone else does too. Thank you.
I'm going to take
non-violent direct
action.
And that must be a fairer way to do things.
The Beanfield incident was just such a peculiar thing because nobody was really expecting it. It's really strange the way it's so quiet. No, no one was killed, amazingly.
And look at the persons with you may be here in order to form part of a trespassery.
I'm sorry, I don't understand why.
To move on. We can argue another time. I'll move away, mate.
Right, well, can we go and take the kids to the Stones and then go?
I think it's lost a lot of its power with the tourists being here all the time, not really understanding what it's about. It's merely a monument that's to be looked at on their itinerary. And you weren't even born then. And Taro was 9 months old. He got showered with glass when the window next to his bed was broken. He was covered in blood when we came out the bus. We were all covered in blood and bruises. But we survived, and we carried on having festivals. We never had a festival at Stonehenge again, but we've had festivals everywhere else. I think one day we'll have festivals here again. I hope so.
Open your eyes, time to wake up. Enough is enough, is enough, is enough. Open your eyes, time to wake up. Enough is enough, is enough, is enough. Open your eyes, time to wake up. Enough is enough, is enough, is enough. Open your eyes, time to wake up. Enough is enough, is enough, is enough.
Students are worth a terrific amount of money to banks. Once you're with them, you're caught and you're likely to be with them for the rest of your life. A student boycott is very effective, has a huge amount of impact on a bank because you're putting them under direct pressure.
So we have to have campaigning which actually hits them where it's going to hurt their shareholders and depositors, and that means hitting them on the profit line.
One of the problems, the biggest problem that we're going to have tomorrow is actually getting in. Although we've got huge amounts of share certificates, we don't have very many invitations. People are throwing them out. We've lost track of people and so on.
To prevent ourselves from being chucked out, we'll lock on, like possibly, say like around a chair like that, so they can't take us off, or next to somebody else, so we're linking arms together, something like that, onto a table. This is a thumb lock. You put your thumbs in and you lock on, and they're very hard for security and that to get off. They can also be very painful, so I wouldn't try this at home.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Please stop ignoring me. I am a shareholder. Please tell me why Lloyds Bank has no environmental and social lending criteria.
I shall now proceed to the next item on the agenda, which is the reappointment of the auditors, Pricewaterhouse, who have indicated their willingness to...
Another 500,000 children's deaths before the next annual meeting, eh? Just think of the dividends you could pay on that next year.
Just take a seat.
Excuse me, you're assaulting that gentleman.
It hasn't been concluded because you still haven't answered questions! You still haven't answered questions!
Profits last! People first! Profits last!
We can have no more of this disruption. I have given ample warning that those who disrupt...
See you next year, everybody! Maybe you will have found a conscience by then!
Yes, and believe you me, you weren't the only ones in that hall with, you know, a lot of the rest of us shared at least some of yours.
Flog it! Flog the horse! Trying to change Lloyds Bank and making an ethical bank is like flogging a dead horse. It's just not going anywhere. It's just not changing.
Open your eyes, time to wake up. Enough is enough, is enough, is enough. Open your eyes, time to wake up. Enough is enough.
Boys! Cars, give me head till we stay up here, please. Peter, film.
Good kill! Horses! Very, very good kill.
Hunting with hounds is still legal in England and Wales. The New Forest buckhounds hunt on government-owned land that is run by the Forestry Commission. Wildlife Action, a new campaigning group, used the power of the camcorder to raise awareness of hunting in the New Forest and shed some light on the activities the hunters would prefer to keep hidden.
Now. Lock him up, stay with him!
We're at a disadvantage because we can't use our vehicles on the forest, so once they actually get stuck into an enclosure or go across, you know, somewhere where there's no road access, we've got to park up and get in on foot. And the only way we're going to get film of what we need, which is really basically we need to try and film the kill if there is one, to show people what's going on. I mean, they're going to do it whether we're here or not, so we're just here to make sure that if they do it, we can hopefully record it.
He's very, very close now. Seconds behind him.
Too late, Mr. White.
Joe and myself decided that a good tactic to use would just to go out with a video camera and just basically stand around and film, rather than actually get in there with horns and sprays and try and take the hounds away, which if we did, we'd just be arrested every time and ordered off the forest. Decided to use the video camera and just basically film what goes on.
Using camcorders and stills cameras has been really vital part of our campaign. I mean, personally, I've been sabbing for 12 years, and it's only in the last, not even 12 months that I've been using a video. you see fantastic direct action when you actually save a life. But to be able to record that and then show that to people, I mean, you know, it's an old cliche, but the pictures say more than words ever can.
The Forestry Commission grants a licence to the New Forest buckhounds to hunt humanely on the land. This means that deer must not be drowned or savaged by the hounds before the hunters arrive on the scene.
The Forestry Commission keepers say that the hounds didn't attack the deer. We've proven it, they have. So the further we look into it, the more lies and and untruths are just popping out all over the place. The hunt and the Forestry Commission are one body. They can't be separate because they do play such an active role and so close together.
To put pressure on the Forestry Commission to suspend the hunt, Wildlife Action sent footage to television companies.
Hunting the protesters who claim they've sickening new evidence of cruelty to deer.
You may be disturbed by some of the pictures in this report.
And the controversy over hunting intensified today. It came with the release of a video that saboteurs describe as sickening.
Horrible pictures. That's the news this evening.
Wildlife Action's footage caused a public outcry. The Forestry Commission were forced to suspend the hunt for a day.
Good night.
The one-day suspension is a victory, but on the other hand, it isn't, insofar as they should have had the licence taken away for good, for crying out loud. You know, what they've done is totally and utterly cruel and outrageous.
Hunting in the New Forest is a complete farce as I'm concerned. They've come out of the arguments, they control deer, they only take out the lame and sick. We've totally and utterly booted that out the window. Video camera is probably the best weapon we've ever had. We've practically destroyed the New Forest buck hunt in one season. I really can't see them hunting for more than another season now because of the footage we've got on them, and the public outcry, and the MPs, and just the media in general, which have turned against them.
The role of any police force is to maintain the power of the state, no matter how unpopular. In Northern Ireland, the police, the Royal Ulster Constabulary, is overwhelmingly made up from the Protestant community and historically has acted in their interests. This is unacceptable to many and cannot be reformed. It has to go.
I think, the police have kind of got into a way of doing things, and they seem to find it very hard to behave in any other way. That's one of the problems which has to be tackled here. We have to try and look at what we're going to do about the whole question of policing now. And once you have emergency legislation which give very exceptional powers to the police, they're very reluctant to give those up, and we need to get rid of those and try to do something about that problem.
The Lower Ormeau Road, a mainly Catholic area of Belfast, has suffered enough of orange bands and all that they represent.
Today's the first day of the marching season for this year, and the campaign that has been going on intermittently now for about 25 years and that has stepped up considerably over the last 3 or 4 years is here now today to try and encourage the Orangemen to reroute themselves, or to encourage the RUC to reroute them.
The Lower Ormeau Road, I've lived on it myself since 1962. Since 1970, we have had 47 residents murdered. In the 90s, we had 17 residents murdered. In February 1992, there was 5 people murdered in Sean Green's Bookmakers. There was another 8 seriously injured. And 6 weeks following that, we had a mini 12th parade come down in which the Orange Order and Loyalist elements came down and stood outside Sean Green's Bookmakers and chanted to their relatives and those who were injured 5-0 and gloated over the deaths of the people.
We know of at least 10 parades that are planned for this area the rest of the year. We hope that today's decision stands. It's a victory for common sense, and we want it to remain like that. We want, if we call on you, we know you should be back. You should be back here next Sunday.